Welcome back. I'll keep it pretty simple. Just excited to have the guys back here on campus. And we're actually this week, this 4th of July week, we gave them off. So nobody's really here on campus right now. But we've done 3 weeks of workouts. We got another 5 weeks coming up after this week. And so just really excited about having this group come together and get here and learn from one another and learn about one another. It's a real fun part of the job, and I'm really excited. It's a good group, really good group. So couldn't be more excited to get started. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Lamont, good to see you again.
You too.
Last year, you said that chemistry was a big part of why that team succeeded like it did. Are you starting to see the first, threads of that chemistry coming together with this group?
Yeah, some of it. It's a process. That's what the summer, big part of what the summer is for. We also, this is a little different than last year. We have more guys returning, particularly guys that were key contributors than we did last year. So that helps with that whole process, but I don't think there's any secrets. That I thought was one of the best qualities that we had was that we played well together. Guys enjoyed playing with each other and played for one another. And so a lot of that was fostered in the summer. We had the added benefit last summer of taking the trip to the Bahamas, which we don't have this year. You can only do it once every 4 years. But again, I think what might help to counteract the fact that we won't be able to do that is that we do have more guys coming back. So from the standpoint of terminology and culture and traditions and customs and things that we want to do, we have more of that. Even guys that didn't play last year, like Arden Conyers, that was redshirting, those guys still have heard the things that we're saying, and so hopefully those help expedite the process of getting comfortable and playing with one another and developing chemistry.
Lamont, good to see you again.
You too.
Last offseason, you talked about wanting to get older and more experience. That was kind of the focus on adding to the roster after last season. What was kind of the chief focus this year? And every coach is going to say they met their need, but how have you seen that need being met over the first month or so with these guys this summer?
Yeah, I think mission accomplished last year in terms of what we wanted to do as far as getting older and more experienced. And so I think this year we were trying to make a commitment to bringing more experience back, more familiarity back in terms of experience with our program. So I think we again will have an older group. I probably aspire to have an older group overall as we continue to move forward, but that's also going to always have some younger guys in my plan. But so I think what we wanted to do this year was to address some of the needs specifically that we would have with some of the departures that we had from last year. I think we were looking at trying to add some athleticism if we could in certain areas too, and I think we did that. I think we did a good job of filling some of those holes. It might look a little bit different. I don't know if we have an interior guy who's as skilled from the perimeter as a shooter as we did with BJ Mack, but we have some guys that have some other qualities that are really will be really helpful in our plight to compete again in the SEC. So I'm really happy with our group. Really happy with what we were able to add, and again, just looking forward to the process of building and developing and helping these guys, become better basketball players.
Good to see you again, Lamont.
You too.
You mentioned Arden there. He's had kind of the whole year to learn the system, to get comfortable in college. Where is he in his development now, and how much of an impact do you think he can have this upcoming season?
Yeah. I said this about a year ago when people asked me about kind of just our plan in terms of constructing a roster, and I would always say, hey, you've never heard of Arden Conyers. You don't know him if you're not outside of the city of Columbia, certainly outside the state of South Carolina. You probably never have heard of this guy. But my anticipation was, with some of the things that we had seen, that in 2 years, anybody who's following SEC basketball will be saying his name a lot. And he's on that. He hasn't disappointed. He's on a very good trajectory right now. He really took advantage of the redshirt year last year. It can be a difficult year, but he's doing a lot of good things right now. He's a very versatile guy. He's shown some signs of explosiveness from an athletic standpoint. He's skilled. He can make shots. He's got good size. He's very versatile. When you're in a redshirt scenario, here's one thing that you don't pay a whole lot of attention to is our defensive schemes at all. You're spending most of your time performing offensively what the other team did and defensively what the other team that we're playing does. But in that his offensive package is a good one. He's got some real tools offensively, and so trying to learn some things defensively. But I'm really excited for him to be in the mix after going through a redshirt year. But I want to make sure his redshirt year was extremely productive. And so I anticipate him, having a great chance to play a significant role for us this year.
Jordan,
Hey, Lamont. It's
Jordan.
been I think a little over a month with an assistant coach vacancy. How's that search been going? Do you have anything to announce today, or is that still ongoing?
Yeah, it's been a good search, a thorough search. Being completely transparent, we were in a situation where I thought we didn't have to rush it. We've got some commitments in the 2025 class. So in terms of these kids that we just saw some kids this past weekend. In these live periods, even coming up through July, the focus of that will be on 2025 kids. We have 3 kids committed. I'm not 100% certain if we'll take another kid in 2025. We may. So I only say that because to bring someone in and really hit the ground running from a recruiting standpoint there wasn't quite the urgency for that to happen. So I wanted to make sure we spent time with our guys, getting things all sewed up, getting the summer off to a great start. And so we've done that. But I've made really good progress. I anticipate making an announcement here pretty soon on the direction that we're going to go with that. But I was really interested in familiarity with me and what we do with, I like guys that can teach. That's a big part of what we do is teach guys that work hard, guys that are loyal. So I'm excited about making this addition, and it should happen sometime here in the really near future.
Hey, Coach, good to see you again.
You too.
With the news coming out with Talon Cooper signing to play Summer League with the Orlando Magic, and we saw him at Midnight Madness holding up the camera and taking videos himself, what do you think a team like the Magic would be getting in character and personality with somebody like Talon?
Yeah, Talon is, I could say this about the vast majority of our guys, but specifically with Talon, I think he knows how to play basketball. He's got he's a great locker room guy, tremendous locker room guy, I would say. His style of play is very easy for anyone to be able to play with. He's unselfish by nature. He's really attentive to trying to make other guys better. But yet he's capable of when the moment calls for it, as you saw last year, and obviously he must have done it in some of these workouts. He's capable of performing as an offensive weapon himself, and so. But he's the consummate teammate. You can try to put him into any role, and he'll try his hardest to perform in that role for whatever the team needs. So He's got a lot of qualities that just I think a lot of teams could use. So I'm really happy for him, excited for him and the opportunity. And that's all you want is a chance to go out there and play and show what you can do. And hopefully throughout this summer, he'll play well and really bring value to that organization.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
Hey, Amanda. Good. How are you?
Talking about local standout Cam Scott coming here. Obviously, he had decommitted from Texas due to personal life reasons. I'm curious on how the team has kind of helped him embrace his role here, knowing that that wasn't really the original plan.
Yeah, I think it's been a great transition. We got a lot of older guys. We also have some in-state guys, a lot of in-state guys, and so I think that's helped him specifically. There's an automatic connection with a lot of those guys. I think the fact that we do have a lot of older guys, high quality, high character guys, that there can be some, I guess when a young guy comes into a situation like this, there can be some question marks on how aggressive to be, how, not to step on anyone's toes. And our older group has done a really good job of just encouraging him to be who he is as a player and to be who he is as a person. And I think they've surrounded him and embraced him totally and completely. I think we live in a time where the second plan ends up being the main plan, oftentimes more than ever. And so I don't think for a second that there's anybody that's questioning how it went down or why he's here. Or I think it was with open arms that every person in our program has accepted him, and because that he's flourished this summer. So that'll be part of our goal, is to help a young guy like that who's shown supreme talent, try to come as close to his ceiling as he can. There's no way he can get to his ceiling in 1 year. His ceiling would be low if that was the case. But our job is to help him get as close to his ceiling as he can between now and the time that the season starts, and then throughout the season continue to grow.
Reggie in the back right.
Hey, Coach, to that point, what is the biggest aspect of Cam's game that you really think can be an immediate impact for this team this year?
Yeah, he's got great feel for the game of basketball. So I think that'll help the game slow down. I think one of the biggest things when guys are making a transition from high school to college is the speed of the game. Certainly the length and athleticism in this conference that he's going to play against will be different than what he faced at Lexington. But the pace and the speed of the game is so much, it's drastically different than high school. But I think that's one thing, because he got such a good feel for the game that slows down a little bit for him. He's an incredible listener. That I'm saying that so early in talking about his strengths. He is really locked in on listening, learning, asking questions, communicating. He wants to be really good. He wants to be really good, and he knows the pathway for him to achieve at the highest level is that he has to learn some things, and he trusts that we can help him learn some things. So he's a really good listener, and he really takes what you teach and then puts it into to his play pretty quickly. That's a very difficult thing for young people to do, for anyone to do, but for young people especially, to hear it, process it, and then allow that information to alter your actions and behaviors. Very difficult. He's shown signs of being able to do that. But he can shoot the basketball. He's athletic. He's long. He's an SEC player in every which way physically that you would imagine. But he also is he's a very cerebral guy in terms of, and he's got a real thirst he loves basketball. He's got a real thirst for basketball knowledge and just trying to get better at the game of basketball.
Alex on the right here.
Just want to ask you about a couple second-year guys. What have you seen from Colin and Morris so far as they in the summer as they work to build off of year one?
Colin and who?
Morris.
Oh, okay. Yeah. those guys have had good summers so far. I mean, Colin physically is, it's hard for me to imagine him being any better physically than he is right now. He's at an optimal. I mean, other than maybe cardiovascularly, it's summertime. Guys aren't where they're going to be. I hope they're not where they're going to be in November, December, January. So, all of them have some ways to go that way. But just in terms of physically, his explosiveness, his body comp, his strength, I think it's about as good as it could get right now. Mo's made some strides physically. He spent a lot of time in gym shooting, and he was in another situation where it's going to be hard as a young guy to play relatively sporadic minutes. We tried to get him as many consistent minutes as we could, and so hitting the reset button and coming back and getting back into the gym and grinding. But both of those guys, they got incredible. Attitudinally, they're in a great spot right now, and just they're helping guys that are new to the program. Even though as young guys, they're still learning some things themselves, but they're helping guys, even some older guys that are new to the program, in terms of, hey, here's what we do. When coach says this, he means that. Those things are really important, but really excited about both of those guys. They're making strides, and they both have incredible opportunities for growth and development. Even though Colin made the all-freshman team last year, it's no secret I've talked about his ceiling last year, and I still believe his ceiling is incredibly high, and he's still not that close to it. And he can be a good player and not be that close to it. But the challenge will be, can he become a phenomenal player as he continues to get closer to his ceiling?
Hey, Lamont.
Chaz?
Sticking with that theme of CMB, what is it you want him to focus on this summer to have his game take another step this fall?
Yeah, one thing, he's naturally unselfish. That's a great quality to have, but I also am going to encourage him to be more aggressive, to generate offense for himself. So I think that's a real change. He's not going to do that just because I tell him. It's going to take some time for him to really evolve into a guy that is looking to generate offense for himself. We're going to need him to do some of that. And then a byproduct of that is once he gets good at that, teams will try to take that away, and he also can pass. His assist-to-turnover ratio was good last year, particularly for a young big. So I think that's the first thing. Two then is continuing to develop what my go-to will be and then what my counter will be off of that. I think that's the second part of his development that I think can happen this year. And then thirdly, things that can happen this year are continued a continued improvement on the confidence as a shooter for him. He's got really good touch, and I want him to explore that this summer and see what it really looks like, so that by the time November and December hits, we know what it looks like for him and we won't be out there guessing. So those are the areas I'm really looking forward to trying to help him grow as a player.
Chase in the back left.
How you doing, Coach?
Good. How about you?
Can't complain. I wanted to ask about Jordan Butler, pretty highly recruited recruit coming out of high school, played sparingly at Missouri last season.
Yeah.
What have you seen out of him this summer, and why was he somebody that you wanted to bring into the program?
Yeah, it's potential. Well, we recruited him really hard out of high school. I think if you just look at me as a coach and what I want to do offensively, you look at what we did last year, he fits he fits right in there. And so we opened him with welcome arms when the opportunity came for him to come back, an in-state guy also. So, but he's dripping with potential. In fact, I'm not even sure if he's aware of what it really could look like for him one day, like in its purest form. I'm not sure he really understands that. So that's part of my job, is to help him see that. But he's really skilled, trying to continue to get to a point where he goes from a guy that says I can make shots to a guy that says I do make shots. Actually, when you make shots like that, you're not the one that says it. Other people say it about you, and so I think that's on the table for him 100%. He's got really good feel as a passer. He's comfortable with the ball on the perimeter. He'll be able to score around the basket in one-on-one scenarios at some point. Who knows what that looks like and when, but it's on the table for him. He can handle the ball for a guy of his size. He's like I said, we really liked him out of high school also. You know, he spent a year, he got some experience. I think he started double figures games at Missouri. So he was indoctrinated into the SEC and college basketball, and so that'll serve him well. But I look forward to him having, again, a pivotal role in what we're going to do, especially on the offensive end. But I was really impressed with what he did last year defensively from an effort standpoint. He moved his feet on some smaller guys, and so, but really excited about him too.
Brad on the left.
Coach, appreciate you doing this today.
Brad, sure.
Hey, last year, obviously, the fan base was energized by what you guys did, a great turnaround. What's it like in the locker room in terms of expectations after coming off a season like that? And who's kind of taken on the reins at this part of the year in a leadership role for you guys?
Yeah. Well, we haven't talked anything about expectations yet. In the summertime, for me, it's a little premature in my plan to do that. We're just trying to, again, get to know each other. We play a lot. We do some drill work also, individual improvement stuff, but the vast majority of what we do is playing 5-on-5. So we're really focused and committed on that. I thought it was a good thing for us last year. I don't want to overburden them with all of our defensive schemes and so we're really just trying to learn what playing alongside one another looks like. But yeah, we lost some guys that were had some real leadership qualities by way of graduation, by way of transfer, down to when we brought it in at the end of practices. Michi Johnson was the guy that broke us down most of the time. We got different guys doing it, different voices. I think it's good for those guys. It's it's been Jacoby Wright. A lot of times it's been Miles Studi. It's been a variety of guys that have done that, and it demonstrates growth. Some by necessity. So getting comfortable with that, getting comfortable with communicating with your teammates. Nick Pringle's naturally a vocal guy, and a high energy guy, and he's involved in everything out there. So he's learning what that looks like in probably a different role than he's played in his career. And so tremendous opportunity for a lot of guys. But if you ask me who our leaders were last year, I think, again, it was by committee for the most part. I kind of like it that way. I don't pick one person and say, hey, here's our captain or here's our leader. It kind of sorts its way out. But we had a lot of voices that had really good things to say last year. When you look at our group last year, from Talon to BJ to Michi, all those guys, we have the makings of another strong group of dynamic personalities that when they say something, it'll have teeth and people will listen.
David on the left.
Lamont, I know it's only the summer, but you lost a big-time point guard in Talon. Who do you see stepping up to take that role? I mean, Jacoby's done it before, but could he be a starter? Who are the other guys that maybe are bidding for that role? Yeah,
Jacoby's been around. He's been a huge part of what we've been able to do. He knows systematically. He's comfortable with what we do and well versed in what expectations are and all that. So he's a guy. Obviously, Jamari is another guy that we brought in by way of the transfer portal with an expectation that he would go out there and compete for that role. Then there's some other guys. Morris has been in the program. I would not discount Austin Hero as another guy. We put him on scholarship this year. And just so you guys know, I'm not big on the pretend transition from walk on to scholarship, the one that happens, mid-year, because you're not going to take another player. And so it looks good to say, hey, we're putting this guy on scholarship. When guys earn scholarship, to me, like, he's a player. He's going to be on scholarship from now on. And he earned that. And then there's some other, outside the box things too. I joked around about this in the recruiting process with Cam and his family, is that he thinks the game like a point guard. We'll see what that looks like when some older SEC guys are trying to get up underneath him and make dribbling full court look really difficult. But he thinks the game that way. He's got a really good feel for the game. He can pass. He's long. He can see over top of some of these other guys. So, it'd be fun to try to figure. That's part of what this whole process is in the summertime. Just seeing who emerges in what role and what that looks like. And I'll tell you this much: all the roles are valuable, and I don't say that for lip service. We had some guys that didn't play at all last year that were extremely important. We had some guys that played sporadic minutes that were all over the place here and there. We won. I think we were 12-1 to start the season with Stephen Clark doing the yeoman's work at his position until Colin was really ready to come in and transition into that role. So we value all those guys' roles. It's a fun process. It's what makes this whole thing so fun, is to be able to learn and grow and have some successes and some challenges and then respond to those things. And so there'll be a lot of guys out there. Everybody, honestly, will have a chance to prove what they can do.
John, back right here.
We don't ask about these guys a lot, but if you don't mind just kind of addressing your assistant coaches, Tanner and Eddie, like what trait about each of those guys has helped make this program so successful in short order?
Yeah, I mean, both of those guys are good teachers. Both of those guys, the guys look at them and they trust what they say. They've earned that trust. I'm not big on bringing assistant coaches in and this is not to be critical of that, but I'm not big on just bringing someone in because they're attached to a particular player or to a particular area. I like guys that teach. I like guys that coach. And so they've earned the trust of our guys. They spend a lot of time working with our guys. The bulk of what happens in one-on-one situations throughout the year happens with the assistant coaches. I try to be as involved as much as I can because, one, I enjoy it. It's probably the most fun part of my job is to get in the gym in one-on-one situations with these guys. But our assistant coaches are really good at that. They're loyal. They're committed. They have a really good. They interact with the players at a really high level in a way that they're not friends with the players, but they're not perceived as the gatekeepers also that are always telling me I can or can't do this. They're here to help these guys. I think all of us as a staff, we're here to help these guys. And so those guys have done a tremendous job. They have a good eye for talent. We identify, we probably like some players that I'm not afraid to like a player that someone else doesn't like as much. And our assistant coaches know that, and they've learned that. They've learned how to identify that, and they're really good at pursuing the things that I hate to talk about players like commodities, but pursuing the people that we feel like we would like to have a part of our program. They're really good at that. They're really good at helping identify them, and so that's what. And they're really good at knowing me. I think that's a big part of your job as an assistant coach is to learn the head coach. And when I was assistant coach, Bo Ryan was a lot different than Keith Dambrot. But you have to learn what makes those guys tick and how to help those guys do their job as well as they possibly can. And our staff has done a really good job of that. And so really happy with them. Just looking forward to adding one more piece. Tim Buckley did a really good job for us too. Transfer portal's open for players and for coaches alike. So guys come, guys go. And then we just try to stay committed to the principles that we have established here, and anyone that we bring into the program is in perfect alignment with those principles.
You mentioned with all your big guys that you really want to see them improve as shooters. What's your philosophy on doing that? Is it getting them in game situations? Is it working with drill work? Is it just having them put up 500 shots a day? How do you make your front court guys better shooters?
Yeah, there are a few parts to it. One is the concept of wanting them to be good shooters. I think they know that I would want them to be able to shoot the ball. And at the same time, if it's not something that happens for them, they can be extremely effective even without the ability to shoot the ball. But there's no guesswork. I think they know if they can shoot the ball, that would be great. I'd prefer it if they can, but if not, hey, they can be extremely valuable without being able to make threes also. So I think that imparts the type of confidence that you could never make up. And I think they know that. That's one thing. Then two, I think we try to, if there's, I think from a form standpoint and a mechanics standpoint, we try to help them if there's some sort of thing that's preventing them from becoming a good shooter, if we can. And then the final aspect of it is to get in the gym in a way that most would label as maniacal. I mean, that's what it is. It is. I think if you're going to improve, if you're going to be really good, I think you do. I think you have to be obsessed. I mean, that's the way it is. And so we outline that for guys and say what it looks like, and we challenge guys. Guys want to go in the gym. I think sometimes they spend 35, 45 minutes in there, and they don't know how many shots they shot. They don't know how many shots they made. So they end up making the last 7 out of 8, and they feel like, wow, it was a great day in there. Well, if you watch the film maybe and someone was there counting, maybe they shot 44%, in an open scenario with controlled environment, no defense, and fatigue's not a factor, and the pass is always where it needs to be. 44 is no bueno. If you're going to shoot 44 in a game, I think you got to shoot 70 or 80% under those circumstances. So just showing them what it looks like to practice it, to go in there and chart, and to go in there and have a goal. It could be something as easy as I play my favorite song, and it's I don't know. Songs today are shorter. When I was growing up, they were at least 4.5 minutes for a song. Now, if it starts with a 3 at all, it's a long song these days. But taking your favorite song, making as many threes as you can in that time, and then tomorrow trying to make more, and then the following day trying to make more. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but I think those are the ways that we do that with everybody. But with our front court guys, I think one, that they know that we value that if they can get to that, and that every single guy, we're going to figure it out over the summer if that's a thing for them. There's nobody that you just look at, he's never going to shoot. I don't want to put a guy in a box. We'll work really hard at it. And at some point in time, we have to say, hey, you're more effective in a couple different ways other than shooting threes. Let's stick to those. But for the guys that can shoot threes, hey, they're going to be out there. They're going to shoot threes. So it doesn't make sense if a guy can do something, then I put him in the game, and then I don't have him do those specific things. So, it was a big part of what we were able to do offensively, was to have a component of stretching the floor and creating space.
Coach, speaking about the obsession and the detail-oriented nature, I know you have that as a coach. What are some things that you took that you added to your coaching tool belt from last year's run coming into this season?
Well, I mean, we're trying to do a lot of the things. We document everything that we do, everything on what day, week 1, day 2 looked like this. And so we do that so that you can constantly evaluate, hey, was that effective for us? Do we need to tweak that? Is that something we want to try to do again? And I thought the summer was really productive. Again, we're not going to be able to go to the Bahamas or have the 10 practices that we did leading up into it. But honestly, that was really important. But in those 10 practices, we also put out of bounds underplays in. We had to play a game. We had to do some things in order to be able to play games. We won't have to do that, so we'll still commit to just trying to play as much as we can. But honestly, we will try to replicate what we did last summer in terms of how the guys feel, the growth that's able to take place during the summer. I gave them, here's one change, we gave them this week off. The calendar changed a little bit. I think we're starting school a little bit later this year, so this week they're off this week for the 4th of July. So we'll see if how that goes, and we'll document it. And next year, based on what happens this year, we'll either have 4th of July week off again, or there's no chance we'll have 4th of July week off. But I think the biggest thing is just looking at really taking a fine-tooth comb over what we did last summer. I liked what we did last summer. I liked where our guys were emotionally, physically. I liked where we were mentally more than anything. And so we'll try to do a lot of things to replicate that. So as we come back in August to get back started with school, that guys are in the same mindset, hungry, ready to go, with something to prove.
Last question, David.
Lamont, I think it was 100 yesterday, and it felt like a 110. Were you still doing the long sleeves, quarter zip then?
It's perfect quarter zip weather. Perfect quarter zip weather. It doesn't get any better than that. So, and then you come in here today. I don't know what the temperature is here. I don't have a thermometer on, but it was chilly in here today. So I'll tell you, the versatility of the QZ. You can go from outside to inside, and the heat doesn't get me. If it does, if it starts to get a little warm, I burn a couple extra calories. Lord knows I need to do that anyway, so.